Why, hello there.
I don't know if it is started.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. We are live at Pioneer Park. My name is Whitney, and this is Braden with me.
Dun, dun, dun.
I figured I would do a better intro than I have in the last few lives and tell you a little bit about myself. Esoteric Nexus is my brainchild. It is inspired by the group Conscious Collective that used to meet every Wednesday years ago. And they stopped meeting, things got busy, nobody picked it back up, and I miss that group. And that's what inspired me to start this group. So it's a little bit spiritual, a little bit self-help, self-love. The idea behind it is that we all help one another to live a more fulfilling and happy and peaceful life. Working on self-love, boundaries, and creating harmony. It's hard to live as a human being in a world that's got so much technology and we're moving so fast. Esoteric, when you define it, it means unusual or understood by a small group of people, specifically special knowledge. And when it comes to the spiritual side of things, self-help isn't talked about as much as I feel it should be. It's become a lot more popular now.
Pretty integral to the whole spiritual nature of things, right?
Yeah, and then Nexus is a relationship or a connection between people. So that's what I'm going for. We're all sharing knowledge. Yeah.
Creating a network database, if you will.
Some of the influences in my life that bring me to the beliefs that I hold are Alan Watts. He's an English writer, speaker, and a philosophical entertainer. If you have I can't think of the name of the TV app Gaia, he has a plethora of episodes, maybe a couple documentaries. He's written 25 books and
I did not know that.
some articles. One of his most famous books is The Way of Zen. He interprets Buddhism, Taoism, the Hindu philosophy, and he definitely got me through some of the darkest times in my life. I really overcomplicated my life, and he broke it down and made it easier for me to digest the way I was thinking. It's a really dark time in my life, and I love the sound of his voice too. Oh my goodness. I can listen to him for hours. Also, Abraham Hicks, or also known as Esther Hicks. She's an American author and a public speaker, and she channels. Her stage name is Abraham Hicks, or I guess that's who she is channeling, is Abraham. That's what she calls herself. She speaks on the law of attraction, and she teaches that your thoughts create your physical world. And
I'm behind that.
I love the way she speaks. She's so sassy. I've shared some of her speeches on this page. The last one that I'm going to share with you for this intro is Nicky Scorpio. He is an entertainer, but he is a certified emotional intelligence life coach, and he's also the co-founder of One Source Action. He also sings, he does couples therapy. He is really big on TikTok. I have participated in a couple of his classes, and I'm actually going to be using some of what I've learned in one of his classes to
talk about today's topic.
Yeah. So that's just a little bit more about me. Thank you guys for joining the group, and yeah, that's my best intro so far. Woo!
But, right on. So today we're going to be talking about healthy confrontation, and everything that it has to go with it. between ways to practice it as well as mindsets to have, ideas, so on and so forth.
Last week we were speaking about how to budget your time and energy, your mental, spiritual energy, your physical. Time's a construct.
Oh, it was the week before last.
Was it?
Yep.
Okay, well,
But regardless.
going off of that, I felt like it was a good idea to talk about how to have confrontation. I have learned a lot about boundaries and how to have confrontation with people. It makes me really nervous. And I think it's something that I was never taught for sure. How to talk to someone or how to deal with someone that you know that you're not seeing eye to eye with.
And I'm sure a lot of that stems from the way our parents raised us. I don't know. Like, I know that even with my kids, it's hard to remember to not talk over them or tell them that they don't know. You know, sometimes it's that whole act of listening. So it's something that we haven't been taught. And it's something that also, like, there's like a fear, trauma tied to it. You're afraid of the reaction you're going to receive when you're just trying to get things out on the table. And a lot of that is, you know, it's equal parts not knowing how to communicate and, like, so receiving as well as giving, like where your energy is at when you're starting said conversation. Because that really sets the tone for everything.
I'm real big on communication, and I feel like you teach people, I have been told and learned that you teach people how to treat you. And you do that by what you allow and don't allow
Into your life.
when you're interacting with others. And I mean, we can go as far back as to your childhood and the way that your family communicates and the way that your parents communicated with you as a child and the ways that you learn to communicate. As adults, though, you have a level of emotional intelligence where you can analyze the things that you like and don't like and why you behave the way you behave.
Not only that, but there's nobody above you, right? So you have the ability to openly choose what you want and what you don't want. And you don't have to be afraid of the other person's response because that person doesn't hold a hierarchy over you like your parents did, you know, like elders did when you were younger, you know, important peoples in your life. So really keep that in mind. Like, it's a fresh start. You get to start over. You know, something that I saw on the Book of Face is a quote that said, you know, our adult years start in our 20s. So, you know, when you're 23, 24, your fourth year as an adult. 6 if you want to count when you're 18 or what have you, whenever you decided to start living as an adult without having somebody over you. But point being, like, we're just relearning how to actually be adults, taking what our parents taught us and building on that, or removing the parts that need to be removed, you know? So keeping those things in mind, it's easy. It makes it easier to start having that confrontation, because confrontation is an invitation to conversation. And that's what it's there for. Confrontation doesn't have to be conflict, like aggressive conflict, I should say. There's no need for it. It's just
Conflict, or I'm going to call it conflict because it's a conversation you know isn't going to, it's going to have a little bit of tension. You don't know how it's going to play out, but I suppose you call it a conflict because it's a conversation you're not excited to have.
right.
You're worried about feelings and stuff, and I don't know. I call it conflict. But conflict is an opportunity for growth and a deeper understanding. It's healthy conflict. It's communication. You are trying to be understood, and they want to be understood. You're trying to understand their perspective while also sharing your perspective. It's not placing blame.
It's finding what can help you move forward. And
Common
honestly,
ground to move forward together.
and honestly, when you have your healthy confrontation, there really isn't a whole lot of compromise. It's more like you guys come to an equal understanding, and that equal understanding allows for a new solution to present itself. You know, like, I feel like compromising is stepping down and allowing somebody to just have that perspective for the both of you. And like, I understand compromising has its own place, and I guess there are times for it. But honestly and truly, when you're having a healthy conversation with somebody, and you guys are both really coming from understanding instead of attacking and accusations. Especially remembering that, like, when you are accusing, when you're feeling that, you're feeling something, and you're really just trying to express the feeling that this other has shown you, has given you. You know, like, you're in charge of your own emotions. You're gonna feel how you're gonna feel, but so we just want people to understand that. But we also got to start from a place of coming from understanding.
Yes. I feel like, for starters, who are you having
The
this
issue
confrontation, conflict, conversation with? Identify that person. Who are they in your life? Are they part of your inner circle? Is this somebody that you hold really close? How do they affect your life? How much are they affecting your life? And do you hold their opinions to a high standard? I feel like that's pretty important. If you are trying to be understood and understand them, if they wouldn't do the same for you, if they're not that kind of person, if they're coming at it from a very selfish point, then there's not a lot that a conversation is going to do except create more conflict. So I feel like it's pretty important to understand who you're talking to.
I would like to say, though, like, regardless of the importance of the person, if they've really, like, hit a nerve with you, you know, you may know that conversation isn't going to have any effect on them, but giving yourself that voice is something that, you know, you should give yourself.
I feel
that
like
opportunity
identifying who it is gives you an idea of what kind of conversation you're going to have. So if this isn't somebody that is going to respect you, but you need to know what's happening, then absolutely have the conversation, but you go into it understanding that you are the only person gaining understanding from
exactly. And I mean, that's like, exactly, like, you're coming from that point of, like, all right, this is for me. I could give
Yes,
two shits
yes.
how this guy's gonna respond, but, like, I
It
need
goes
to be
back
able
into
to say
budgeting your
this.
energy. How much of yourself are you putting into this conversation? If you are having it with somebody that you care about, then I feel like you know that they would care about you and try to respect you. So you would put a lot into it to try and do it in a respectful way that you're not stepping on their toes, saying something rude, yelling, or anything like that. But if it's a rough confrontation that you're expecting a lot of yelling and stuff, then you're not going to put as much energy into the conversation as you would with somebody who would respect you, because you're only trying to gain your understanding.
I agree 100%, because at that point you're not trying to get them to understand. You're just setting a boundary for yourself. Honestly and truly, and it's the people that you, like, really don't know. Those are like your practice runs, because you're not going to run into them again, and if you do, they're going to remember it, and they'll have had time to digest what you said.
Yes,
You
practicing healthy conflict is really, really good, because having people that you don't know as well, you're not going to care as much about their feelings or have so many worries because you don't know them so much.
Yeah, you're not tied to them.
And then
in
you
an
can
emotional sense.
work out how to do it in a more comfortable manner, because confrontation is hard
It is.
with people that you are very intertwined with or very close to.
But that, I mean, we do that to ourselves, though. Like, we
Those
really
are assumptions.
we do that to ourselves, and then it goes back to, like, what we were talking about back in our first talk when we were talking about time budgeting and emotions and whatnot. Like, so in essence, when you have these moments of conflict, like think about you lived through that moment 2 different times. And you're fortunate when the second time plays out completely off from what you had in your mind. It's
Yes.
a godsend, right? But so it's practicing to step away from the reactions that we feel others are going to have, because then we're choosing to have the conversation with for
You
them.
gotta let
right?
go of control.
Like, you'll know what you'll want to say, and you'll understand how they're going to respond, but you can't just assume that it's going to come from a negative aspect. If you're gonna go, like, here it is. If you're gonna go through it twice, make it the best thing it could possibly be. And if it's a little bit worse, whatever. You've got the energy to deal with it, because you didn't just put yourself through the ringer thinking about this terrible conversation you're gonna have with this person. Because we don't know. We don't know how somebody's gonna react until we have that conversation with them.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Yeah.
you've really got to let go of control. You're not. I lost some of it.
Sorry.
It's fleeting.
Surrender.
When you hype it up and live through it the first time, you're trying to control where it's gonna go and how you're gonna feel and how they're gonna feel and how they're gonna make you feel. And you really gotta let go of that control, because you can't do that. That's impossible. You know, you can only control you. I can't control Braden. He's gonna react however he reacts, but I can control me. Same goes with boundaries. Boundaries are about me. It's not about him. Me.
Yeah.
So if the situation becomes too tumultuous,
Tumultuous. I like that.
then you can remove yourself from the situation, or you can make it clear beforehand, hey, just so we're all clear, if people start yelling, if I'm yelled at, I'm gonna have to step away for a couple minutes and calm down, because I don't like to be yelled at. It makes blah blah. It's about me, so I'll go away, and then when I feel better, I'll come back, or we can have the conversation a different day. It's about me. I can control that. I can't control how this situation goes.
Well, and honestly, like, one of my things that I really like to fall back on, even just in a mental space, is like, you don't have to have the conversation right then and there. You only have to address it right then and there. If you let it sit, it becomes less relevant, and the power of your words and your feelings are diminished, because it's in the past. It's already happened. Enough time has lapsed. It's already been assumed that it's not a big deal. So in that moment, you can be like, hey, you really, pissed me off with what you had to say, and I can't talk about it right now. But I would like to visit this conversation later on tonight, the next day, whatever. I just need some time to chew on your words. I'd appreciate if you did the same. And then really sit there and let yourself feel the feels, and ask yourself why on them feels, because you're gonna get insight. You're gonna see where is this
Pinpoint
trigger.
what it is.
Yeah.
Pinpoint what the overpowering emotion that you're feeling is, and where did it come from.
Yep.
Why are you having a confrontation? What is it that you're feeling so powerful about?
Well, and the beautiful thing is like, when you find it, you have found the truth. You have found your truth. And then from there, that truth can be changed to whatever you need it to be able to fit the kind of person you're trying to become. But until you recognize it, you can't see it. But the beauty of it is as soon as you recognize it, man, you are at peace. You are done. You feel good. You already know how to come to the conversation, and like, it'll direct itself more or less. And it's not going to happen every time, but with practice, it gets to be that way.
You're practicing healthy confrontation, conflict, conversation, whatever you want to call it.
Man, with self as well, man. Like, this could all pertain to yourself, like things that you don't really want to confront. Like,
And if you want to have the conversation with yourself beforehand, or if this is, in a situation where you can't have this conversation with that person, or you don't feel safe having the conversation with that person, you can do this all on your own. You can make it a meditation. You could make it an exercise, a journal.
yeah. I mean, as long as you're really, at the end of the day, you're getting your own voice. Because what's going to happen is even if you don't directly confront this person, having it written down, seeing your own self-validation is going to build your strength.
Hello.
And it's going to push you to a point where you're going to just pull away from the people that are doing that to you.
You guys want to happen to have a cigarette for $1, would you?
I don't smoke cigarettes.
I don't have cigarettes,
Thank
sorry.
you. Have a good day.
You do
You
the
too.
same?
Yeah, so if you sit with yourself, pinpoint what the overpowering emotion is. Where does it come from? You want to go as far back to your childhood, when was the first time you felt that way?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's almost always where it gets to.
A better understanding of yourself, and maybe you could also see it from the other person's point of view as well.
And if you're finding it in your childhood, it's a chance to do a meditation. Be the self that you needed there at that time to be able to say the things that needed to be said.
Mm.
And I mean, that has its own scientific research and working, and I don't have any way to prove that other than videos I've watched and the little bit of diving into it I've done. So it's not credible, but you know, it's food for thought.
It's out there, and you can find more of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. It goes into understanding your own traumas, your own triggers. You know, if people can easily access your buttons.
Oh my gosh. I don't know, I should have posted it on the group, but I came across the post, and this lady's like, you sit there and talk about people pushing those buttons, right? They just found a way to push that button, but ultimately, that's a button you decide to have. That's a button you allow them to have access to in the moment that you emotionally react. And they don't have that control over you. You are allowing for that to take place. So honestly and truly, like, how you feel as a person, like the way other people make you feel, the way you want to emotionally react to them, like, that's entirely in your realm of control. And remember
You control you.
and remember that your emotions really are, like, they're there to show you where they're at. They're not there to decide how to react, you know. Emotions are just like, hey buddy, like, just by the way, this is just how you're feeling right now. I just want to let you know so you can act accordingly. But, you know, there are times where that little guy coming out is like, let me at him, let me do the things, let me just rip them open. Sometimes it's necessary, but it's not always effective.
Oh, man, they keep just disappearing. My favorite little nugget is that you can always change your mind.
Oh, wow.
Nobody said you have to believe one way. Nobody said you had to do things a certain way or act a certain way. Those are old beliefs that you grew up on, those little pillars. You can change them. You can change them. If they don't fit your life, if you don't like the way they make you feel, you can change them.
As many times as it takes. I like
You
that.
can pick and choose the things that serve you, that fit you and your lifestyle. And remember, we're all here to have fun and live a more fulfilling life. If you're not feeling fulfilled and happy with the beliefs that you're dragging around, you can go back down and pull those roots, dude. Plant some new ones.
I like that a lot. And not only that, but it helps you be proactive about a situation. Like, you're going to actively look for something else that fits what you're looking for if you're willing to let go. And that's, you know, that's what change is, right? You got to let go of what you have to make room for what's coming. For what's coming, it's always better than what you had, but you really like what you have in the moment, so it's hard to let it go. And then it's its own form of control we don't realize we have.
You know, I really feel like negative emotions are taboo. You're not allowed to get angry.
Well,
You're not allowed to be sad or hurt. You're not allowed to feel those deep, passionate feelings. So confrontation with people is hard because
you have
if
those
you get
feelings.
angry, that's not okay. If you get sad, it's not okay. Why? Where else are you going to be allowed to have those feelings?
And allow yourself to have those feelings.
You really got to give yourself permission to feel those feelings. And really, as an adult, you can be the mom or dad for your child self who's dealing with the trauma of the taboo and the emotions. I'm not allowed to show anger because when I showed anger, mom did this or dad did this, and so I had to repress that emotion. So how can I safely do that? How would it, if I had a kid how would I want my kid to show anger? And then be that for yourself. Allow yourself to express your anger, whether it's in your mind and replay that moment, or in a meditation, or art, or take yourself to a rage room. Allow yourself to feel the anger, the sadness, the anxiety, and let it parent yourself through it.
Yeah. And remember, there's always that backup. Get into your body and out of your head. So when it starts to get to be too much in your head, you step back and you just do something physical. It's a walk, it's a run, it's push-ups, it's something that gets you moving, gets you busy, and gets you out of your head for a moment and allows you to just either be focused on what's physically happening or a place where you can just drift away to better thoughts.
That's a nice way to do it too. I feel like as a female, as this female, movies play in my head, how the situation happened, when I'm thinking about how I would expect it to play out. I play a movie in my head. So when it comes to the big passionate emotions, sometimes, especially anger, for me is a huge feeling all over my body. So in order to let myself feel it, I have to experience it inside of my body and let it pass through. So when I'm allowing myself to be angry, I have to take the moment and go back into my body and just follow where the anger is, because it always starts in my head. I see red behind my eyes, and then feel it in my chest. Where is it? Where is that anger showing up? Is it in my foot? Is it my leg? Oh my gosh, it's in my arms. Okay, let that anger pass through, do its thing, and let it go. And it's not about a situation or tied to anything. It's just a feeling in my body. And let it go back, return to the earth, and it served its purpose. It let me know something was going on. I needed to stop and look and reflect. And now I can go forward.
And have that conflict resolution.
Yeah, and not react in the way that I was worried I was going to react, because I was so angry. And now had my emotion. I'm still upset, but I'm not seeing red angry.
So then, stepping into the whole seeing it from that point of view, it's really learning how to actively listen. Not listen to respond, but listen to understand. I have had a number of different experiences where it's taken more than a few conversations to really come to an understanding with people. And man, I tell you, the moment you understand where they're coming from, it is a doorway to limitless ways to be able to reach them on their level and bring them to where your understanding is. And you'll find the common ground. And I promise you, it's so much faster to just learn and understand what really is making that person respond in the way that they are.
So that you can better and effectively communicate with them. If you can understand how they like to communicate.
It's the difference between throwing darts at a dartboard blindfolded or not. It gives you direction.
In the same way you like to be understood, I also like to be understood.
And always, and we all want to be understood first. We're all wanting to be the first ones. We want our point to be heard first. And I think that's a lot of how our society is. It's not always, the truth as much as it is the first story that's heard. So we all feel this urge that we need to have our truth spoken first. And it kind of puts us in a spot of ego, if you will. And so to remember, how strong is that desire? How much do you need to be first? And is it necessary? Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. So it's a good time to be mindful and do your due diligence.
How do you want the conversation to go? Who's going to start the conversation? Who's going to initiate it? So if you're the one initiating it and you want to seek a healthy, compromise in the conversation, then you can come at it from a place of understanding, and then you set the tone for the conversation.
Well, see, here's the beautiful thing. It's you're also setting an example.
Yes.
So
you're teaching someone how to communicate with you.
By approaching it this way every time, you're building consistency. And if the results are favorable multiple times, then people are going to fall to that mode of conversation with you. It is a really good way to describe teaching somebody how to treat you. Because you're like, look, we don't need to fight. I don't want to fight you. I don't want to have an outright verbal yelling match. I want us to communicate and talk. That's how I want to be treated. So I'm going to show you how to do that.
Some of the notes that I have, there's this little sentence for an example of how to start this. This moment in the past has me holding on to anger, hurt, resentment towards you, and it's not fair. Please forgive me. I understand it as this. Fill in the blank. And then, what did you mean by this?
And how can we move forward with
And how
it?
can we move forward? And then you give them a chance to express how they feel, and then give them space, hold space for them to have their feelings,
And honestly, like, don't
just
be
like you
afraid.
want that.
And don't be afraid to keep asking why. I mean, it's the same process you do for yourself to be able to come to your understanding. And if he gets upset or she gets upset and then, why are you grilling me? You can. That's when you can tell him, look, I'm not trying to pry you for answers. Like, this is the method that I use to get to my own understanding of things, and I'm trying to understand your point of view. So, like, I'm just asking you why on all these different things because I'm getting to the root of it, you know? They might not like it.
Yeah.
Confrontation is hard. You'll find your way to talk to people. Everybody has their...
You want to refrain from being passive aggressive,
Yeah,
And
don't be
ask them.
passive-aggressive.
you know? Or don't. And you want to validate their feelings just like you want your feelings validated. You don't want to be placing blame. You're not trying to criticize them. You're trying to come to an understanding and understand where they come from. And if you're vulnerable, it gives them, you're setting the example. You know, if you give that to of yourself in the conversation to be vulnerable, you just get a deeper understanding of each other. It growth
And
for
there's-
both of you.
Man, and then it opens up, not only does it open up communication, but it brings another level of honesty to the table. And
Yes.
and the authenticity that you feel with that partner is its own bonding element. And it's something that really makes you connect and want to be with that person.
Those
for
are the
longer
kind of
times,
people you
know?
want in your life, right?
Exactly.
You want people to be honest with you, not to hold a grudge against you and just walk around you and
Well-
not ever tell you.
And it's refreshing. You don't have to walk on eggshells. They get to be themselves. You get to be yourself unapologetically.
Yes.
You know, and that's what we all want anyway,
Mm.
right? So it's like you just, well, like you were saying earlier, how much of it do you really want to muck through? Like, to have the kind of life you want requires a lot from yourself. At the end of the day, though, the things that it requires of you are so naturally in tune with how I think that we're supposed to be that it does come second nature. It gets easier. The positive thoughts come more frequent. The silver linings are super easy to see. You start seeing past that silver lining to the other things that are there waiting to be given to you. You start realizing that there is no lack. You know, it starts building and building and building and building. And you know, you're always pushing for more, so you're never actually going to be staying in the same momentum. But you'll have moments where you get to slow down, relax, and enjoy what you've accrued. Then you get to move on to bigger, better things, and it's just perpetual.
I feel like this is a good moment to throw in powerful truths
Oh yeah.
as you're going through this, and it's like an affirmation in a way. You know, when people are staring at you or when someone's looking at you a certain way, I feel like it's real easy to jump to the assumption that they're judging you or they're looking at something that you feel vulnerable about. I have a pimple on my chin and they're staring at me in a certain way, and I feel like they're staring at my pimple. It's rude. Why are they looking at me like that?
Can I interject there? The big words being there, the key words being there is I feel. It's projecting self onto others back to yourself.
You do the same thing before you have a confrontation with somebody. You're assuming they're going to act a certain way or say certain things. So give yourself powerful truth that you can carry on forever. You know, when people look at me, it's because they like what they see. And if they don't, it's because they don't like something about themselves.
Well, and you know, and That's not to say you don't, you're going to ignore your intuition. If you get that feeling and you know that's not a conversation you should be having, or not at that time, or what have you, listen to those. But at the end of the day, 99% of your conversations that you're having in your head with people aren't actually going the way that you're envisioning them. And to keep that in mind as you move forward, it's less stress on yourself. Like, the whole point of this life is to find a way to make everything less stressful. And I have found that through learning how to surrender to the whims of the universe, if you will. Really just allowing, like, if you don't know what to do, sit back and watch. You'll see a pattern, it'll unfold, you'll get an idea of where to go. You can pray, you can meditate, you can reach out to whatever helps you be able to make the choices that you need to make.
Yes, trust your intuition.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get better at being good to ourselves
Yes.
instead of
yes.
jumping to assumptions.
And
you know,
think
and
positive about
the
yourself
more
in all
you
those
are
conversations.
Honest and authentic with other people, you're attracting more honest and authentic people to you.
And if you're not attracting them to you, you're attracting those that want that and are willing to work for it.
Yeah.
So then you're not only does your energy become more valuable in a sense because it's being put to good use, but it's also not a waste of your expenditures. It's going where you want it to go. You don't feel like you're just putting into people for kicks and giggles and hating humanity because of it. And if we're all in this conscious upward spiral, we've got to learn how to love and accept people where they're at. And it means finding a way to clear the contentious thoughts that you have in your heart about others. Because remember, if you feel one way about somebody in a negative light, that leaves room to feel that way about multiple people once they start showing signs of it. Now, I'm not saying ignore the signs, but what I am saying is, like, for example, if there's somebody in my childhood that I really cannot stand, if I see those same attributes in somebody else, I'm going to slap
But at
that.
the same way, you could turn that around as a mirror. If there's something that you're seeing in them that you don't like, is that something about you
Oh yeah,
that you don't like?
more often than well, and that's what it is. But it's remembering to learn how to recognize those and let them go. Those kind of attachments don't need to be in your heart space. Like, remember, as you grow, as you get closer to your own higher self, if you will, that person that you really want to become, you learn that your words really do have power.
Be impeccable with your words.
Yeah, well, and you create your reality. Your thoughts create your reality. Your perspective creates your reality. If you're not on it, if you're giving way to negative thoughts and opinions and allowing them to be something that you hold on to in your heart of hearts, then it's like poisoning the well. It doesn't allow for you to have that level of, I don't know, it's like a restrictor. It's like hitting a ceiling and wanting to break through. And you've got to make space in your heart for the other things that
You gotta do it from a point of love. If you come at it from a point of love, and even the person that you don't like from high school or whatever that you're thinking of, there's something that you don't like. If you do come from a point of understanding, I know what it felt like to live like this in a way that I can relate to that person. So maybe they're just at a point in their life where they're reacting like this, and I don't like that. But I remember when I went through life and I was acting like that. So you know what? They're going through it. I'm just not going to be around it. But I understand, with love, thank you, goodbye.
In honesty, it's more like it's been long enough. I don't really have an actual reason anymore. That reason, whatever the core reason was that planted that there, it's not there anymore. So it's really just like
the memory brings up the memory of the feelings.
Yeah.
And you don't have anything new to go off of, so
you just hold on to that memory. So it's learning how to let go of that memory. Acknowledging that that's what it is. It's not that you actually have these feelings towards this person. It's a leftover, it's a residue of feelings from in your past. Like, if you can't remember why, honestly and truly, what that core reason was, and you can't trace it back, then it was something superficial to begin with. And you can just let it go.
Well, if it's that far back, it's probably old beliefs.
Yeah, old beliefs. It could be an old offense.
Could be that too.
Something really dumb that you took offense
conflict that you never resolved.
Yeah, especially because we didn't know how to communicate. It wasn't really a big thing, even among kids. Like, I think that's why kids are so mean to each other at school, because we don't know how to communicate. We're not teaching our kids how to communicate effectively. You know?
I have definitely made that a very big thing in my kids' life.
Agreed.
Communication.
It's huge.
Healthy communication, healthy conflict. As I'm learning, I'm sharing with them.
Yeah.
Living a more harmonious life. You don't want to hold on to all that anger and resentment. So something that it's real small and easy to, you could read the book, The Four Agreements, and it is short, it is sweet, it is worth rereading and rereading again and sharing. And
It only requires you to agree on 4 things.
yeah, 4 things that are easy to categorize in all of life. The first one is be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity. Say what you mean. And if you do that within the whole time that you're having your healthy conflict, if you are impeccable with your word, you will never regret what you say. Don't take anything personally is the second one. What others do isn't about you. It's from their perspective, their beliefs, their understanding. And that's what we're trying to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And number 3 is don't make assumptions. That one's hard. Ask questions. That helps eliminate misunderstandings. Keep asking questions. I'm just trying to understand. Then you're not making assumptions. It's never an assumption. This is what I understand. Would you correct me if I'm wrong? Thank you. Now I understand. And number 4 is always do your best. This avoids self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret.
You've got to have positive thoughts about yourself.
You are loved now. You are perfect now. The perfect image of yourself in the future shouldn't loom over you. That's
No,
unrealistic.
not at all.
Be
Well-
happy now. Be here now.
Well, and just be stoked that, like, what you are now is better than what you were before, so that means you're closer to what you want to become. So you don't
Yes.
have to, like, it's not like you're
Give
trying
yourself
to...
credit.
And remember, like, I think deep down, regardless of whether you believe perfection is a thing or not, I think we are ingrained to strive for a level of perfection. And I don't think that it's not like, oh, we will find that level of perfection. But, man, chasing after the impossible gives you limitless opportunities.
That's not giving yourself permission to be happy now. Like, you can't be happy until you do this thing in the future, and then you're like this in the future. When you reach this thing, then you can be happy.
But happiness is in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Happiness is finding the joy in the now. And,
There is joy in conflict.
well, and finding the positive. Honestly, like, you don't have to be happy and positive. You know, you can have shit flying all over the place and still be positive. May not be happy about it, but if you keep the end result in your mind's eye and then stay in the moment to watch the process unfolds, it comes about in the craziest of ways. And that's a story. That's an experience. That's a memory. That's when somebody starts complaining. You're like, I've got a parable for you, and it has to do with my life. So let me share. You know? So, like, that's how you find the excitement and the joy in the trials and the lessons that you're learning in life. You've come to a level of understanding where you're not, these lessons aren't here to fight you. They're here to teach you. And as you let go of your control and you surrender to the process that's being laid out before you, you'll know which way to go, and it'll flow, and it won't be resistance. And then when there is resistance, you'll have an easy overcome with it, because you'll know, you'll have that understanding of how to move forward. And if you find resistance and it's not going anywhere, well then, that means there's a new option available waiting for you to see. And it might be a sit and wait, and it might be a just turn your head and look that way, there it is. But, you
Be
know,
open to the possibilities.
that's where that's what this helps create, having healthy confrontation with people. Because remember, like, you're going to be given opportunities, and if you can't choose you in those opportunities, then you're gonna that opportunity passes you up.
You gotta show up for yourself.
Yeah. Only you can choose you.
Go
Only
into
you
it with
can
an
create
open
your
mind.
reality.
You don't know how the conversation is gonna go. It might go way better than you thought it was going to go. Or maybe it's gonna go way deeper and create other conversations in the future.
And these conversations, like, I think the biggest thing that I look forward to that really helps psych me up for having these is this is an opportunity to learn. This is always an opportunity to learn. The moment you open your mouth and ask the question, start the conversation, you are like, all right, there's a lesson here. Let's go dig it out.
Yes, there's a lesson in everything that happens. In all your experiences, extract the lessons that you can. We're always learning. We're always trying to do better.
And it's not a lesson like a punishment lesson. It's not like, oh, you did this, so this is, reap the consequences. This is, hey, this is what you're going through, and you'll experience more in this life, but let's walk through it. I'm going to show you how to effectively handle this. And it's going to take 5, 6, 7 turns because this is life, and it's about experiences, so you learn through experiencing the trial. It's not given to you. So allow yourself to have those moments.
Yes. Give yourself credit. So with that, I think we'll wrap things up. And last week we talked about setting goals,
I think you should talk about that.
creating happy movies.
Yeah. And its effect and all that good stuff. What is your experience with doing this?
Well, after creating powerful truths that you hold on to, I have a real bad habit of replaying the negative things. It's real easy to pinpoint and find and pull all those negative memories out. And when it comes to extracting the lessons out of experiences, it takes a lot of effort in finding the good things that came out of it. Back when I was talking to so-and-so, it was a really bad negative interaction, but here's the things I learned through that interaction is I shouldn't let people interrupt me all the time. I should find a way to say, hey, just like you don't like to be cut off in the middle of a sentence when you're saying something important, I also don't like to be cut off. Hey, I wasn't done talking. Can I finish, please? I value what you have to say, but I wasn't done. Things like that. Or, I did a lot better than I did previously that last time. I just cowered and hung my head and didn't speak up. But in that interaction, it was an argument, but I did speak up. I found my voice. So that was good. So finding the happy movies and replaying those. Collect the happy moments along the way so that when you are feeling overwhelmed, you can replay those. If you can easily think about 5 things negative about today, can you also think about 5 positive things? That's usually a lot harder. So practice finding those happy movies.
And honestly, if you just pick one of those negative things and find 5 positive things that it could be instead, it's a game changer. Because now, not only are you finding positive things, but you're discrediting the negative notion that you just put into your own head and calling itself false, which helps reinstill the fact that there are better possibilities out there, and there are more that can cover a range of good things than just that one bad thing, Yeah. But I like the create happy movies things. Visualization is everything, and the more you can see it, the easier it is to be able to.
In a way, you're practicing gratitude, or
it's like giving yourself a pat on the back when you're having a hard day, and that's just it. It's like you have these for when you have your hard days.
Be impeccable with your word. Your word has power. The things that you tell yourself has a lot of power over the way that you act, the way you think, the way you behave. So
HIIT therapy, HIIT therapy. It's a really good process.
What is HIIT therapy?
Hold on. It's a really good process to teach you how to change perspective. HIIT therapy really is just trading out at its base level, it's trading out the negative words with positive words in your everyday self-speech, you know. But it goes into more than that. I got to experience HIT therapy for like 4 different sessions. It wasn't very long, but what I learned helped me out so much with being able to wrap my head around my own self and like how I think and what I see. It just kind of, it's a doorway into being able to see how you yourself process the world. So yeah, maybe look into it, find it on YouTube. I don't have anything that I can share with that. I will do that next week. Maybe find some links and whatnot that have good stuffs.
Yeah, I might link some stuff too.
Yeah.
I don't have anything off of that.
This was awesome. Good topic. Great notes.
So now we're wrapping up,
Now we're wrapping.
and we'll touch base on what we were talking about last week in setting goals after managing your time. That's what it was last week. It was setting goals,
Yeah.
attainable goals.
And where you're at with the goals.
And where
you
you're
may or
at
may
with the
not
goals.
set. Yeah.
So I'll go first. I took some time and I had a little adventure with my sister, and I went out and got a bunch of different sunflower seeds and I planted them. I weeded my garden. I waited all the way until the sun went down and it was evening and it was cool, and I was so excited. I'll share some pictures with the progress and what it'll look like. I didn't take any, but I did plant them. I got it done, and I'm super excited. One thing that I would like to be better at is watering them and managing my garden. I haven't watered it in 2 days. Yeah.
That's not terrible though.
No,
It
but
could
I
be
should have
worse.
watered it last night, and I decided not to.
There's always too much.
What about you, Brayden?
Well,
How
you
have
know,
you come on the journaling?
I have acknowledged that I have not started it multiple times this week, recognizing that I definitely have an issue with the whole like starting paralysis, and it used to be something where it was
What
just
about it?
well, it used to be too many steps, right? But this time around, it's more like I just keep saying I'll do it later, and I don't know why I've allowed that to keep happening.
I
Yeah.
feel like there's something deeper on what's keeping you from doing it.
Yeah, if
There's some serious reservation.
if I had to really dive into it, I think it was because I felt expected to keep a journal as a kid, you know. And then school was writing assignments that meant homework, that meant more writing. Sometimes it was essays, sometimes it was just a lot of paperwork that I was catching up on that I didn't, you know, like. So I
What
think
about
there's
an audio journal?
Oh,
I have an
never
audio
thought-
journal.
I never thought about doing an audio
It's
journal.
way easier. You just speak, and then you've gotten everything off your chest,
Huh.
and you don't have to write.
Oh, see, this is a great opportunity to like not talk about, but hit on real quick. Like, so this is what I mean by having an end goal, but not controlling the process. I thought it had to be through writing because that's what I wanted. I wanted to be able to write. But if really all I'm trying to do is journal, then I should be open to other options of journaling. So wham, like here we go.
This just brought
Enjoy
up a
the
memory.
process.
You watched Grace and Frankie, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so recently, I don't know how long ago, but I saw this episode, and one of them was making fun of the other one, like, "Oh, are you gonna put that in your little journal? You know, your non-existent journal?" And Frankie keeps a journal that she writes in the air. "Dear diary, today this happened. I wonder what's gonna happen tomorrow. I'm really excited about this. Okay, bye. P.S. This." I journaled today.
Wow,
It wasn't anything. It was just in the air.
I like that.
It was pretty cute. Also an audio journal. If you want to go back and reflect, I have an app that I would definitely recommend.
All right, yeah, send it to me. I'm down to look at that. And here's the thing: is like she said, audio journal, and I immediately jumped to 5 reasons why I should be doing the writing. So that's another thing to be mindful of. But with that, we'll leave it alone and maybe pick up on it on a different week.
We'll touch back next week with how he's doing.
Yeah.
Alright, guys. Thanks for coming.
Hasta
Share.
luego.
Share with your friends. Invite your friends.
Invite your friends.